So interest rates are going up and inflation's going up, and what do I do? One of the reasons that you might consider investing in property is actually an inflation hedge. Hang on a sec. What's Jeff talking about? Well, if all the costs are going up and if your world is affected by all those changes and you've got your income and your tax and your mortgage and your costs, that's your world. Now over here on the other side, if you had or decided to go ahead now, after this huge spike in property, pricing, you're like, it's softening a little bit. Property market typically still increases. So what could I do? I could invest now, because whilst there's been this fantastic lift, which has been great, there's going to be more lift. And if I own an additional asset in a period of inflation, and if I can balance it so the taxman and the tenant are paying for that, then in actual fact, that asset is growing in value with inflation. I've got a little bit of ability to control what's happening with that, because I can control the rent that I'm paying for that. And maybe the tenant's going to have, I'm sorry tenant, but a little bit of inflation hurt, and it's hedging it for me. So before you say, the market was really strong, it's softening a little bit, the interest rates are going up, there's a whole lot of inflation, it's definitely the wrong time to do an investment property, you need to do the maths. And you need to actually work out whether it's the wrong time or the right time. Interestingly, everybody writes with either their right or their left hand, whichever one it happens to be. I personally write with my right hand. If I try to write with my left hand, it feels very, very strange. But it doesn't make it wrong. You can't rely on everything that you think is right. You need to check it. You need to check the maths. Talk to your licensed broker, talk to your financial planner, talk to someone who understands how to do this, because in actual fact, at the exact times that you think are the wrong times to do things, maybe they're the right things to do. And all those people right now, like the people with this investment property that's going to be on the market for tenants in another 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 weeks, they went ahead at a time when everyone's, COVID and this and that, and they look very clever now. Because despite the fact that they weren't sure at the time they did it, they weren't sure about the area, they weren't sure about new, they weren't sure about the block, they weren't sure how to do it, they needed a lot of help to understand it. And they've made $300,000. You don't $300,000. You don't make your money after it's finished. You make your money as soon as you have put a deposit on a block and a deposit on a house. Because if it goes up between then all of that money is yours. So imagine at whatever increase in the property market, owning property. Because I'll tell you this about the property cycle. Google property cycle. What it says is this: if you buy a house worth a certain amount of money, the property cycle is the amount of time it takes to double the value of that property. Now, in a good area, in a strong time, that could be a ridiculously short period of time. It could be 3, 4, 5 years. It could be 4, 5 or 6 years. It might be 7, 8 or 9 years. Even if it's 10 years. So you buy a property which is paid for by tax deductions and the tenant, that potentially gives you a little bit of positive cash flow that you can use against your residential mortgage, and one property cycle later, it's worth double what it started out at. That's an inflation hedge. You know what? There's a wrong time to do all sorts of things. The wrong time to decide, it's not the right time. Do the maths. Check it out.